we bring a new perspective, talk, portrayal, and perception.
Reflect on many topics, friendship, love, life lessons.
The goal is to get you thinking, so tune into the show.
We're immune to all the trolling. Leave the comments below.
Today I have something that I want us to dive into.
Okay.
We can just jump right in.
Yeah. What's on your mind, man?
I want to talk about frivolous decisions and whether or not education influences against frivolous decisions. What do you think about that? Should I expound a little more?
See, when you start talking about the decisions that you make in that context that you gave, education can't help. I don't think that education helps. So for instance, a fool can go to school his whole life, learn something, and be great at it and still make poor decisions.
Okay.
I think we have to. It's a hard one. I don't even know how to kind of approach it. I say you go first,
okay.
Man.
Let
me feed off your energy.
I'm asking frivolous decisions in general. I'll get a little more specific and let's in a vacuum, let's talk about purchases. Like a few things I consider frivolous purchases, cigarettes. I think it's one of the most frivolous purchases you can make, honestly, if you ask me. People spend, it varies per state, but some of them are like, I don't know, like $8, $11, $12, whatever for a pack. Some people smoke multiple packs a day. It's just, the equivalent of throwing money in the trash can. And actually it's the equivalent of eating the money because you're doing the same thing to your body. It's the equivalent of eating the money. I would also say like fountain sodas. I think people, for some reason to me, it seems people love fountain sodas. People who do love them. Like, I'd be in offices and stuff. People would come in with like a big 54 ounce fountain soda. I'm like, who wants 54 ounces of, like what adult wants 54 ounces of high C orange? Like, or like Dr. Pepper or something. Like,
that's real. That's real.
Why?
I guess when you make it specific and you talk about the purchase portion of it, you can really spend your money on anything that you want, and it doesn't necessarily make it frivolous. And the reason I say that is, you look at it and you say, man, that's a waste of money, and the person buying cigarettes is thinking, this is a necessity. You know what's a waste of money? That water that you're buying right there. You see, and so frivolous has a very subjective, very, very subjective, because shoes. I think that shoes personally are frivolous.
Yeah.
Like I will go and I'll just get a pair of shoes, whereas growing up, owning a pair of Nike Airs, just Jordans, Timbs. Those were the big shoes back in the day. I even remember what's that Rhino one, Echo.
Yeah, Echo, Mark Echo.
Yeah, something. Yeah, all those kinds of shoes. I just had shoes, man. I didn't even know there was brands.
Yeah.
And that is a frivolous clothes. I used to be about clothes. I used to buy all polo when I was in high school. $98 a shirt, button up, because I used to like to look nice. $98 for a shirt, and now I think back on it, and I'm like, man, I would never spend $98. So sometimes it takes time to learn what frivolous is and what frivolous isn't. And so you look at it because you're at a point in your life where you think, oh, that's a pointless purchase, because you see the value, the future value, and the effect. Whereas some people just can't see those things, and for them, it has a higher priority.
So I guess it makes me want to dive in and ask. Of course, with that, we were talking about branding. I think branding and just the way things are marketed here, in this country and in other countries around the world, kind of lends to more frivolous purchases because people are influenced by marketing to make more frivolous purchases. So I guess that leads me to ask the question: if it's not education that influences individuals not to make frivolous purchases, and it's if maybe, I mean, I don't know if it's innate, but what is it? What makes people not make bad decisions?
Okay, Zach, it's pretty easy to explain that, and I'm gonna make it so real for you that you're gonna start laughing.
Okay.
What makes you look at a woman and just think, man, she has the fattest? I'm gonna let you finish that sentence. You know what I mean? And she just comes up to you and she says, hey, what you doing tonight? What makes you say, I ain't doing nothing? Like, what's up? You want to go get something to eat? What makes you say that? Because everything about that whole situation that I just told you about is frivolous. You don't need that woman in your life. The fact that she has a fat, finish the sentence, is irrelevant to you. It's not necessarily gonna do anything for you. Maybe temporary happiness. She could end up being your wife. But what I'm saying is, at that moment, you don't need her. And so I think that education has nothing to do with it. It's more like our own ego, almost. It's us. It's not our background. It's not where we're from. It's what we value in life. I can sit in front of TV commercials and just really ignore everything that I see, right? Whereas someone will see a Ford truck commercial and just be like, man, that Ford truck looks nice. And that's a Baytown Ford dealership, and they have 0% finance for 35 months or something like that. It's like, I didn't even hear none of that on the commercial, but you did, because you want a Ford truck. That's a very, very simple way to put it.
So individual desire.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, there's always a public desire. You see, there are things that the public wants, and then there are going to be things that you want. So, for instance, everyone wants to look nice when they're out in public, right? You want to have clean shoes. You don't want to have a shirt that's, doesn't look like you ironed it. Those are brush your teeth, wash your face. Those are obvious things. But then you start getting a little bit more personal. Okay, well, what's your favorite color? You like candy paint on your car, or you like regular paint? You want chrome rims, or you just want, some dirt tires that you can go out in the mud and just get your car dirty. Everyone has different desires. Some people might want, some Timbs. Some people want boots, calfskin boots. And so I can't speak for them, but everyone has things that they want that really and truly they don't need. And I feel like frivolous decisions are necessary, but also need to be controlled.
I would definitely agree. I mean, I would say that, I guess to add to that, they're necessary, I guess, to maintain a homeostasis in the individual.
I couldn't tell you why. I feel like I don't make a lot of frivolous purchases. I made a frivolous purchase yesterday. I went out and I bought some Taco Bell. I didn't need Taco Bell. I could have cooked.
Yeah.
But I just was like, I want some Taco Bell, and I spent like $26 at Taco Bell. I mean, it wasn't just for me. Okay, of course, I went out with the family. Yeah. And $26 at Taco Bell, that's killer, man.
Bought like 20 tacos.
Yeah, man. And so that's a frivolous decision on my end, but it was in context to, I'm probably not gonna eat at Taco Bell for 2-3 months.
Yeah.
I just went to Taco Bell and just bought some random stuff. That's about as, I think if I spend money pointlessly, it's gonna be on food. Yeah. Just being real. It's not gonna be on clothes. I go and I do all my shopping at this place called Plato's Closet. And everything in there is used, man. And I just go in there, I pay like $5 for a shirt, $7 for some jeans, and that is my, I guess, penance for buying clothes that I couldn't afford. If I go in my closet and you see all of the shirts that I have, right? I probably have, I don't know, I'm just gonna ballpark, maybe 50 shirts, right? All in hangers. I couldn't afford it if all of those shirts were polo.
Oh yeah.
So why would I go and buy one polo shirt?
That's real. And it's interesting just to see, I mean, just to talk about how branding affects people. Now that you mentioned polo, I went to Cuba last year, and in Cuba I had on a white bucket hat that happened to be a polo hat, and like there were so many different.
Just coming in here.
Yeah, go ahead. We paused. Don't worry. Go ahead.
So I went to Cuba last year, and in Cuba I had on a white hat that happened to be a polo hat, and all the people we met or everybody we came across, for some reason, was very enamored with this hat. And I didn't know why. I didn't understand. People were like, "Hey man, I'll trade you my shirt for this hat." I'm like, "Your shirt? Your shirt?" I'm looking like your shirt for this hat. They're like, "Hey, I'll give you my hat for your hat." And somebody, "Hey, I'll give you $20 right now for this hat." And someone, "I'll give you $30 for this hat." And I'm looking like, yo, what the hell is going on? This is just a white bucket hat. Like, what's so good about it?
Right.
And then like, people who I'm with, they're like, I think they like your hat because it has the polo logo on it. And I'm like, oh, like,
oh yeah,
like,
I didn't even realize.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it. Like, it wasn't even anything that I noticed. Like, I mean, I guess I'm just like kind of immune to branding. Like, I mean, I got the hat like on sale at Macy's for like $3 or something. It was like, clearance.
Right, right.
So I mean, I'm not really thinking anything of it. I like the hat, but I mean, I wasn't on the level of these guys. You know.
Yeah, I mean it, and to couple with what you just said, it's a everything has its good and bad sides, and so I'm familiar with brands. I know when I have on a nice shirt and when I don't, and for me personally, I am trying to change that because it shouldn't matter what kind of shirt I have on. It shouldn't matter what kind of shoes I have on. That shouldn't make me more confident or feel more prestigious in public just because I have on something that I know other people will see. Trying to be done with the perception. People need to perceive me for me. So I don't need you looking at my shirt thinking, oh wow, he has money. I don't need you looking at my shoes thinking, oh wow, he has, money. I don't need it to be money. I don't need it to be prestige. I want you, when you start talking to me, to be like, oh, he has on a regular shirt, regular shoes. But when he opens his mouth, you know what I mean? The knowledge, the confidence, the intangibles is to me what matters in life. And I feel like too often we get caught up in the frivolous, and we need to start grabbing on to the intangibles.
Definitely. I mean, let people see who you are. Don't be afraid of who you are. I mean, somebody is going to enjoy who you are. Someone's going to like you for you. And if people don't, then you don't need people whose values in the wrong place in your life anyway. I mean, you want people to be able to grasp what's good about you, what you radiate, what you emit, as opposed to what you give off. I mean, and when I say give off, I mean what you give off via physical appearance,
Right.
What you give off via your clothing or your brands, your earrings, jewelry, watches, whatever.
Earrings, jewelry, watches. I'd almost forgot that those are part. Let me tell you, one of the biggest purchases that I've made, and this was recent. This was right when I graduated. Was getting my Aggie Ring. I don't even have it on. No, I'm being real. It's something that I would not purchase again. I wouldn't buy it again. Like if I went to A&M again for another 4 years, I would not buy the ring. The reason why is because I'm a pianist. Like I usually take it off when I play anyway. I really don't wear it that often. I mean, yeah, there's nothing.
It's a networking tool.
Yeah,
It's a networking tool.
it's a tool, but it's a tool that I'm really not utilizing the way someone would
Mm-hmm.
if they were, I don't know, corporate, like
Yeah.
in a corporate workplace. You know, you could say it's a networking tool, but if I tell you that I went to A&M, that's also a networking tool.
Exactly.
You know, I can just say it just as easily as you can see it.
It's true.
You know, and so I feel like it's frivolous for me to spend that amount of money on something that I don't utilize in the way that I just did it because it was
And
what everyone else did.
if you're extremely sociable, then the line between it mattering and not mattering is going to be very thin. Because I mean, it might be a difference of, hey, you're at some big ball and conference and somebody catches eye of it, and you haven't got a chance to speak to them, as opposed to you being at a small event where you can greet everyone and talk to them.
Exactly.
I mean, and you know, that's a thin line to where an individual that may not be sociable, who like, you know, may be almost mute when it comes to, you know, like
Expressing,
you know, express himself in a large situation.
The
It's
charisma.
like, hey, I'm gonna have to use this to help me get ahead. I'm gonna have to let someone else be the conversation initiator. You know, someone else be the alpha you know, so to say, as far as starting a conversation, because I don't really start conversations, but I mean, I can let my watch talk for
Let
me.
my watch talk.
What
for
up,
me.
homie?
Yeah, man. I just, me personally, I like flashy things. I'm gonna be honest. I do. I like nice things, but I like them for me. Like I bought, you know, some speakers. I think that they're nice speakers, and I keep them in my house. No one else sees them unless you come to my house, you know, and you like see them. But I use them in my everyday, you know, life. I felt like when I bought the ring, it was something that I did not because I wanted to do it, just because I was like, oh yeah, I mean, everyone else is getting it. Let me just go ahead and cop one too. And I feel like that's following. That's one of the few cases where I was just like, yeah, let me do what everyone else is doing, you know, and just follow the social the social network of wherever they're going. Yeah. So that was me. I think that was frivolous of me to do that. And on that note, I kind of wanted to touch on how, when you said, you know, we talked about making frivolous decisions. Do you think that people make frivolous decisions that affect their lives?
Yes. All the time.
Okay.
All
An
the time.
example, other than cigarettes.
Yeah, other than cigarettes. I mean, but people make frivolous decisions that affect their lives. I think that just the whole diet here, I mean, is a big thing. I mean, just what people eat. I think there's a lack of education as far as food as well. Like, I mean, I don't think I think advertising is so much bigger than education.
Okay.
Like, so even if you have competing bodies, like education for food and health and stuff, like you might have one health class requirement in school that, I mean, it might not even be a requirement. It might just be an elective that some people can take, or, you know, can not take, which may not even be in depth and detail. That's that versus commercials every day. Come get this Big Mac. It looks so good. Get the Big Mac Junior, the Big Mac Senior. Hey, guess what? You need this Pizza Hut. Eat it right now. $5.99 for 2 pizzas. For 2, not 1. For
He
2.
said for 2 pizzas.
You know, hey, guess what?
God
Come to Popeyes and come get my New Orleans box. It's so good, and it got all this chicken and shrimp and fish and all this stuff in it. Just come get it. It tastes real good. You got that constantly hitting you 24/7 versus
agree.
one maybe health class.
Yeah, I mean, and in that respect, you also have to think about, it's boring. Like, just think about the way that they label boxes and the way that they, you know, mark down calories. You look at it and it's like, who wants to look at this? You know what I mean? I just need the food.
Yeah.
Like, don't show me the Carfax. I don't want to see them, you know? Just give me what I want. And people don't have time. And that's, you know, you say, you see way more advertising than you do education. But really and truly, it's there. it's not like anyone is hiding it. No one is ever hiding knowledge. What they do is they play like the shadow game with you. They push. They don't push anything back, but they bring things forward.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, I
so
believe
you have to be the one to say, "Huh, I see what you're doing. This is my first option."
Yeah.
Of course, right? You just go outside. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of fast food joints, and you might see like maybe one or two places that actually, serve you like healthy food. And even then, I mean, your safest bet is to cook at home.
Exactly. Definitely.
But there are people that cook at home and they're still obese, and the reason is because they're not looking at, their calorie intake. They're not counting. How many are you even drinking water?
Yeah.
That cleans your system. There's so much.
Well, one thing people aren't seeing, and I feel like, I don't want to get too far into turn this into a health discussion. But it's like, people.
I don't want to turn it into a health discussion.
Sugar and carbs, it's stored energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right, calories,
Mhm.
carbohydrates, all
Right.
this is stored energy. People aren't doing physical activity. So it's like people are taking in
Mm-hmm.
stored energy. And the stored energy isn't being converted from potential energy to kinetic energy,
Mm-hmm.
if I may,
Yeah, just put that out
yeah,
there.
put that out there.
Yeah.
So, we've got the most obese population in history. And, a lot of times it's coming from...
Not on
Ma-
Instagram.
Not on Instagram at all. On Instagram, we've got, bodies that can be made.
Right.
Body by Miami.
It's crazy that socially, and this is a big thing too, Zach. We are a picture-friendly society. You will see the prettiest girls on the internet. You see their pictures, the way they pose. Then you see them in person, and it's like, is that you in that picture? No, because
Yeah.
they know how to snap their angles right. And you're right, they're fat. And so there's a disconnect between what we think is sexy when we go online and then what in real life, what people look like. And it's just like it should be a horrible disappointment, because if our whole entire population is obese, it would suggest that there's only a handful of people that actually take care of themselves and look good, and they happen to be the extreme.
Yeah. Of course, more frivolous decisions that influence people. You've got, drinking and driving. You got this.
It's funny. I feel like the frivolous decisions now that we got into drinking and driving, they're just gonna
keep,
plummet. Yeah, they're just gonna keep popping up now.
Yeah.
Like, it's done. Yeah. That's all you had to say was drinking and driving. It's kind of like, well, you see how you could change your life.
Yep.
Completely, or stop, just kill someone and
And then theirs, exactly. And change yours, in the process, because you're either gonna go to jail or have to pay a lot of money or just suffer emotionally from the grief and the fact that you've taken someone's family member from them.
Yep.
Talking on the phone and driving and texting and driving is a physical decision that we're all probably guilty of, at some point, because a lot of times that's led to, to accidents.
Yeah. There's a lot. Every day you drink a cup of coffee. Every day, you take a Red Bull.
Yep.
There's so many different things that I am starting to suspect that we live our lives making more frivolous decisions that affect our life than active decisions that affect our life.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So we spend our time, ordering McDonald's, going out Friday night, drinking with our friends, knowing that we need to drive home. Then we do about planning what is our next step.
And I agree with that, and I think that's because a lot of times we don't live our lives purposefully. Like we we're not practicing purposeful living. We're out just on a whim. You know, a lot of times people are just, hey, go with the flow. Hey, you know what, I'm out. Hey, you know what, I'm gonna stop here. Hey, guess what? Oh, look at that. Oh man, $5.99, $6.99. Oh, all I can eat. Yeah, let's do that. You know, it's hey, guess what? This looks good. Hey, you know what? Guess I'm gonna do this. There's no, like you said, there's no pre-planning. Like we haven't set up a goal of how today's gonna go. We don't have a set schedule, like, you know, a set way to control, you know, the positives of our lives.
Do you think that that is the ultimate measure of success? Is how you manage your frivolous decisions versus your active your active ones to think, hey, let me live my life in a very...
I think that's a measure of definitely of a pathway to success. Because I feel like, you know, once you reach success, then you might be able to make a little more frivolous decisions, and they wouldn't be as frivolous because you don't have much to risk.
So you think that frivolous decisions are something that poor people have the luxury of? That have I hate to put it this way, but they have the stupidity to make those decisions, whereas rich people have the luxury of making frivolous decisions because they can afford it.
Yes, because I would say frivolity is relative. Frivolity is relative to necessity, to what you need to do. So what you just do that, you know, that may have this or that said consequence, that consequence may not be as great if you've already reached the goal that you're looking for. For example, if you got a millionaire and you got a guy working a 9 to 5, and you got a millionaire who works a 9 to 5, and you got a guy who works a 9 to 5 who's nowhere near a millionaire. They both make the frivolous decision of going out to a party and drinking all night. They both are late to work. They have a hangover. They go to, they go to sleep late. They both get fired.
Right.
Frivolous guy A, the millionaire, don't care. Still have $1 million.
Right.
Frivolous guy B, how am I gonna pay my rent?
Okay.
You know, I can't pay my car note. I can't do anything because I lost this job. So that decision was more grave to him.
Right. Okay. Good. Want to pause right here though, Zach, and kind of give kind of my own personal take on that. Not to say that I disagree, because I feel like in the context of your analogy, the message is heard. But I feel like you can be a millionaire and stop working and all of a sudden not be a millionaire anymore. Although people say that it's a mindset, I can be a millionaire and still pay $1 million in rent.
Yeah.
And so we have to be careful, you know, when we say the millionaire and the poor man.
You can still make frivolous decisions,
exactly.
but that would be that's a grave frivolous decision that
that affects one. Yeah. So I think we're right. We're right on track. I think the poor people can't afford to make the same frivolous decisions as rich. So I have a question for you. I like to travel, right? I'm nowhere near $1 million. I do like to travel though. I'm taking a trip to Vegas this year, and I'm taking one to Colorado. Possibly Atlanta later in the year. So that's 3 trips that I'm taking. And so should I consider, man, why don't I just wait until I'm more rich for me to travel? Or should I just say, you know what, this is something that I want to do, and because I want to do it, even though I know, my finances are not where they could be, do I still take those trips?
I think it depends upon your larger plan. Like if your larger plan is, hey, I want to save X dollars this year. Next year I'm going to save X dollars because the year after that my plan is plan whatever, whatever that plan may be. As long as it's fitting into that, as long as there is a plan and it's fitting to that plan, I don't see a problem with it. But if it's just kind of like on a whim and it doesn't fit within a plan, I mean, it may need a little evaluation.
Right.
But I feel like if it fits and everything else still works, I mean, how you want it to work, then nothing wrong with it.
That's real. The evaluation and the thought into the future is something that we have to consider more of, because it's something that we don't really consider. We'll take a quick break right here. Think about the trips that you want to take, and then think about what you're gonna do next year with your money. Does it fit into line? Are you gonna be able to save that money? Because you may have unexpected, debts. You may have an accident. You may have so many different things can happen, and so you always have to have that cash, money on hand. You don't want to go for the payday loan. I'll tell you that right now. Don't do the payday loan.
One of the worst decisions that you can make.
Yeah. So finances are tough, and frivolous decisions and finance usually go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah.
Those two things are. I don't know why. We breathe so easily. It's something that we don't even need to think about. We see easily. We don't need to think about seeing. You would think that as we have come further and further in life, in society, as people, we would learn how to naturally do certain things. We haven't. Why do you think that is?
Because I think that it's part of survival of the fittest. I mean, some people are afforded the ability to do things and pass it down, and some people just kind of miss the mark. Some people, don't know. You're either gonna make things happen, watch things happen, or not know what happened. Right? I mean, you have a lot of people who don't know what happened. Unfortunately, sometimes that happens to be the majority. That just kind of misses the mark. And while there's people who are learning from others' mistakes, the mistakes of the past, and I think that is one of the interesting benefits of history class, to kind of learn from the successes and failures of people of the past. Of course, we wish that it would be more diverse and,
right.
Kind of teach from more realms, than just one, tell more than one story. But just from that perspective, you can learn from the successes and failures of, of those individuals. And I think that people have to pay attention to the older generation and listen. And, right now we have, like kids kind of like listen less than ever now, it seems like.
You think so?
I think so.
I had a conversation with one of my friends, and I suggested to her that it can't be all our fault that we strayed. I feel like we're a lot different from the generation before us, and the generation before them. And so our kids are going to be closer to us than they were to our parents. And so thus further from our parents, but still closer to us. And so when you say, the generation of kids now, they're coming up. I'm not a child anymore. And I don't really have any kids of my own around, 5, 6, 7, 8. I work with them, but I don't have any of my own. And so is it us? Is it the generation before us? Or is it just something that is out of our control?
I would say it's out of our control, because the thing is, not everybody is going to be ready for the changes that come. Not everyone is going to, be paying attention to the new wave, to what's coming. You could even go back to the story of Noah,
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty much everybody wasn't paying attention to the new wave. Oh, look at that pun intended, double entendre. Don't even ask me how. No one was ready for that wave.
No one was ready for that wave.
Not at all.
No, that was a tsunami, clearly.
Boom. See, that's my new mixtape. But but no. Yeah, no one was ready for that, for the new thing that was coming there. people missed it. And then, even look at, I mean, there's countless examples. You look at that hidden figures, not Hidden Colors, the one with the women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
You saw that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the one woman, I don't know what her name, Mary Johnson or something.
Yeah.
She was the one who, she started teaching the computers programming because she knew that was the next big thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was coming. When you don't have people like that, people just kind of stay stuck on the old wave, and then you got Hillary Clinton coming in and said, "I want to make sure steel workers don't have jobs," because it's kind of like those people are kind of stuck. Like, hey, what was what we got out here? We got steel. This is what we do, and then you got politicians and people who are kind of like, I guess, moving what they would say is progressively, saying, "Hey, we don't want people working in this." I call
it the Sears Dilemma. And the reason I call it the Sears Dilemma is because Sears used to be Amazon. And I read an article. Actually, was on, I think, The Atlantic. And so I was reading it, and it was curious to me because growing up, Sears was the place to get your electronics. And they had this really cool thing where you could buy it and they would bring it to your house. Yeah. You know what I mean? Conveniently set it up, everything. And you barely even see Sears now. And the reason is because they made bad business decisions. Not only that, they never adapted.
They missed the wave.
Right, exactly. And so don't you think, and this is honestly how I think the world works, people see the wave, right? I see the wave. And in my head, I think everyone can't fit on this wave. Yeah. So I tell no one. I get on the wave by myself, and whoever else saw the wave hops on it with me. But there's a problem to me. The reason why our generations are getting further and further away, even though that is not necessarily a bad thing, right, is because we see waves, and instead of bringing people on board of the wave, like I feel like Noah was a great example, but I want to change it a little bit. I feel like Noah was trying to get people to hop on the wave. Mm-hmm. He was like, yo, like this wave is coming, get on the boat. Yeah. I feel like we have the boat, and we're just like, let me go ahead and just shut this up. I don't need any more people on this boat. You kind of see what I mean? Yeah. And so we're very we are Noahs, each of us, and we don't want, we think that we have our own boat, and so we don't need to share or care about each other. And so when you see that happening, I feel like that's how you end up with kids that are not listening, kids that are, because you yourself, your kids can only be what you yourself are, and I feel like if you're a bad person, you're gonna raise your kids undeniably in your likeness, or they're gonna see your likeness. Mm-hmm. And the thing about kids is that they're gonna make it better than you ever did. And so you have to be. I'm not worried about my kids, but it's like, I feel like if my kids can be better than me, then perfect. And most kids are. They know their parents like the back of their hands. Sometimes better than their parents know them.
This is true.
Yeah. So it's like a backwards dilemma. You really can't get out of it. I don't think. I mean, how do you turn things around? Pray.
Well, yeah, and I mean, awareness. Can awareness be taught? I mean, that's a question. I know you don't like. Have you? I know Madden, they've got the awareness rating, but I don't know, you don't like American football, so you never played Madden, huh? Well, I don't know, for people who have played Madden, like when you got your quarterback, you create them, and you can create like an awareness rating, and it's like quarterbacks with a higher awareness are going to be like better QBs on the game. Okay. But I mean, my question is, can awareness be taught? Like, can you, I guess in a sense you can teach a kid to pay attention more and more and more and more, but I mean, that's kind of like attention to things in front of them, things around them, like things you can physically touch, things you can physically see. I don't know if that can translate to being able to, you know, recognize the wave and recognize, you know, things that are coming.
So you're
things that are ahead
suggesting
of
like
your generation.
something like faith. You're suggesting something like faith is intangible, but it's a belief that can't be. So what you're saying is that awareness in this case would be something that it can't really be taught. It can just be talked about because it's individual.
Yeah,
And so you can't teach something that is personal.
exactly.
Yeah, I agree, but I feel like at that same time, awareness breeds awareness. And so if we hang around each other and I'm aware, right? Wouldn't you say, if you play the same position as me, if you're backup QB, you know, they do this a lot. They're like, hey, you know, we got this guy to be our backup QB, but we're breeding him to be, we're getting him ready so that he can be the starter because our starter is soon going to retire, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So you bring in that the guy under the actual starting quarterback so that he can learn, he can see, he can feel. And so in that sense, isn't that what our kids are? So why are they missing the target? Because, I mean, you can say that it can't be taught, and it's like, okay, but then you can show examples, and history is full of examples.
And I believe that may be because of outside influence. Like, there's more factors influencing the kids now than earlier. I mean, if you look at kids years before, I mean, you know, technology and distractions, so to say, have grown exponentially. You know, if you look at kids in the 1800s, I mean, they got their parents, they can listen to their parents, they can listen to their teacher.
Or the Black Death.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
or die, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
bring around the Rosie.
there's not too much influencing them. I mean, there might be like some bad kid across the street who steals packs of 10-cent gum, you know, but like other than that, like you're it's not.
So you
too
don't
much
think kids
taking them.
now are smarter?
Smarter in what respect?
I think kids are smarter. I think that kids are wiser. They have such easy access that they're kind of know-it-alls.
Yeah, I guess because I mean, and like you would say, kids now, when you grow up and you're better than your parents in the computer, and you know that you can do things on the computer that your parents don't know. Like kids now, like their parents will put like a child block on, and kids are like 11 years old. They're like, "Oh, I just go here, take the child block off, and then I'll just go look at my porn." You know, so it's like it's like
It's easy.
Yeah, it's like an easy thing for them. So I agree with you. Like if you're a kid and you're 11 and like you know how to take off the child block and look at porn yourself,
Right.
like that's. I mean, that's
incognito.
That's empowering, I guess, as a kid. Like
Yeah,
it makes you
is.
feel very high and mighty because you're like, hey, I mean, you guys are grown. You guys have lived your life all this time, and you can't do this. And you're trying to stop me from looking at the sites I don't want to look at. But in like 10 minutes, I can just override this. So I mean, I would agree. I would agree with you in that sense. I don't know. I would say kids maybe are more cunning now. I mean, I don't know if it's smarter. I would say more cunning.
Cunning is a good way to put it.
And they have more resources. You know, they have more tools in front of them. They have more access. They certainly have the ability to be smarter because they have the internet. You know, and they have the internet on their phones. They have free access to the internet, so they have more ability to be more intelligent. I think maybe older kids probably have more raw, might have more raw intellect maybe, and they might have more ability to make quick decisions that matter because they weren't as distracted, possibly.
I mean, it's hard to say. I have a student. I'm going to work with her today, and she's like a grown little woman. And although she has misconceptions about how the world really works, because her parents went through the struggles that she'll never have to, and so they, you know, worked in the mud and have hoisted her onto really just a nice plateau where she doesn't have to be embroiled with the distractions of having to focus, having to have, you know, a certain amount of money that you have every month, and once that's gone, you're done.
Yeah.
You know, and so I look at her, and I think that's exactly what my parents did for me, and that's what I want to do for my child, and you know, my child's child, and so on and so forth. And so that creates that kind of generational, you know, I wouldn't call it wealth. It's generational, because I don't like the word wealth. I hate when people say generational wealth, especially when I'm thinking about myself, because I don't want to give my kids wealth. I want to give them the ability to do things, you know, do it for yourself. Although it's mine, I'm giving you something to start with. But I feel like as we raise that plateau, they will encounter problems that we have never and will never experience. So for instance, because I hoist my child to the level above me, they're going to have experiences that I never have experienced, right? Because I've never lived their life. I can think about their life. I can see them living their life, but they're not me. They didn't grow up in the same time as me. They have new problems. And I feel like the disconnect is that how do you raise a child that you're pushing to be better than you, right? And you've given them everything to be better than you, right? But all they see is, you know, who's this person that can't even, you know, block me out of the internet.
Yeah.
That you see what I'm saying? They can't see what you're doing for them, and they won't be able to see for some time. Yeah. Right? Because you can't just break it down to them. They're not gonna understand. You know, you'd be like, hey, you know, I'm gonna. If you don't listen to me, you know, I'm gonna put you outside. And they're like, well, Mom, you can't put me outside. I'll just call the police on you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're smart, they're witty, they know. And so, I feel like that is our problem.
I mean, it's really kids now. They got so much access, just like you said. I mean, kids could be like the parents could be like, you know what? I'm gonna take your Xbox plug. The kid's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna use my phone and order one off Amazon and get it delivered. Just get it delivered to the door.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah, that's how it works, and so parents now have to understand that discipline can't work the same. You know, my dad used to speak to me, and like his words would instill fear. Now it's kind of like you have to use logic, but logic for kids. I mean, think about trying to use logic on kids. You know, don't eat that, eat this because this is healthier. That they don't want to hear that. They want what tastes good. So they're still kids, but they're like mini adults. So how do you deal with them? It's a completely new way of dealing with kids, and it will continue. When I have my kids, it may not be the same anymore, and so we have to be very innovative, creative, but still yet conservative in how we bring them up. You just hopefully trust and believe that you can bring up a decent human being.
Yeah. Most definitely. I think we've covered this topic on many ends.
Yeah, I think on all ends, honestly.
On all ends.
Yeah.
And if you guys have anything more to add, you know, drop it below.
Yeah.
Down there.
Frivolous comments. I don't know, what should we call this? This video. Quarantine. All right, we'll see y'all next time.
Peace.
Trollproof, we out here.